That's good to see. So you
Mhm.
get in the car and you drive down to Vero, and that was about what? About an hour and 20 minutes, hour and a half?
Yeah, it was about $1.20, an hour 30 minutes there. Yeah, nice ride,
Okay.
no traffic.
So you get down to Vero, and your initial impressions of the resort when you pull in?
It looked nice. You could
Mhm.
tell Disney has that look. You know, the resort, the building, it has the look. Besides the fact there was a big sign that said Disney's Vero Beach. But it was nice when you come over the river. In Florida, they say river. In Jersey, we say inlet. All
Mhm.
right. So we went over the river and through the woods. And then as soon as you got to the light, it was like you were on the island of Vero Beach. You make a right, and it's right there on the left hand side. Uh, Very nice looking. Very, like I said, you're at a Disney resort. And now, one thing that's a little different, we pull up. There's, of course, the security shack there. It is not Disney security. It is a private security company.
Okay.
So I told them I was checking in. They says, no problem, just park over there. We parked, walked right in. Um, Beautiful lobby, smaller lobby, but had that grand feel because it's high. It was I think it was 4 stories, and that is the inn. So there's one, two, three. There's 3 buildings
Mhm.
off of the main building, and then the main building is considered the inn, which also has rooms in it. Very nice. Nobody waiting at the counter. We go right up. So friendly. And one thing I texted you about that I noticed right away is like old Disney lives there. The service,
Mhm.
very polite, very helpful with everything. Um, so the checking in was a breeze. Room was ready. And I think it was building 12. I could get the numbers mixed up, but as soon as and what's nice is that, like when you're in a lobby, granted, it's not the same. When you're in a lobby at a Polynesian, if you look out the back doors, you could see Seven Seas Lagoon. You could see
Yes.
the little tip of, yeah. So you could see they have a big hedge line, and you can't see the beach or the ocean except for that area there. It actually drops down, and you could see the ocean. I was like, wow, what a view. What a
Okay.
nice view. And I'm a shore guy. So we check in, and they say, just go out here, make a left. And Walt, it was a 2-minute walk to our building.
Okay.
It was a very nice walk. Elevators, we'll get into that shortly. Elevators became an issue in my
Okay.
building. Elevators were an issue.
Now you had what type of room did you have? Was it a studio?
Yes, deluxe studio.
Deluxe studio. Okay.
Deluxe studio. It was.
And
We were on the.
how would you compare that to like a Disney studio, like a normal studio, let's say like Saratoga, size wise?
I want to say Saratoga's bigger. So
Okay.
we were in a corner. So, and like I said, first time there, I have nothing to base it off of. We had a corner unit. So when you walked in the door, it was kind of like, remember Old Key West when you come through and the hallway is kind of on an angle,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
and then you kind of you make a right turn into the living quarters. That's how it was, but of course there wasn't a long hallway because it's a deluxe studio. So your room, you went in, there was like straight ahead was your pull out bed. Then you had the TV and that to the right. So the wall, like right there, like turned, and then your
Okay.
TV was on that wall. There was a dresser underneath, queen size bed. Next to the queen size bed was your door to the balcony. So it was kind of like a big U, the room.
Okay.
And on
And
the other side of it,
was it more of a beach theme to the room as opposed to a Disney theme, like a lot less Disney and more beach?
unless I missed it, there was no Disney in the room.
No Disney at all. Okay.
No Disney in the room. Um, you're gonna love this, Walt, because I thought of you the first 5 minutes I was there.
No
It
carpeting.
had it had carpeting.
Oh, it
Your
did.
favorite. Oh,
Oh.
it did have carpeting. It did. I didn't really. It had a little bit of a tinge, but my wife complained it smelled like the Jersey Shore hotels.
Okay.
So any of the Jersey Shore hotels that have carpet, especially if you're up right on the beach, have like that almost like that musty smell to it.
Okay.
It's damp. People keep it happens. It's not that it's dirty. It's just
Right.
from being damp weather.
Right,
and you're
and you're
right on
coming
the
in with
ocean.
wet feet, and so
Yes, you're
it's
coming in with wet feet. It's just like it's just like the Jersey Shore. So that was a little bit of a turn off. Room was clean. You could tell. I know we reported on this earlier in the year that it does need a refurbishment. I was told there was a refurbishment going on the other side of the property. I didn't see anything. I didn't see construction crews. I didn't see anything of a sort. But that doesn't mean they weren't working in the buildings.
Okay.
They did tell me they were at full occupancy. The people at the front desk said they basically always at full occupancy. And it is very hard to get in there if you are not an owner of there. So
Okay.
we were lucky because originally we were booked for 7 days. And we'll get into that shortly. We did move it. We did walk it back, and we did make it to Walt Disney World.
Okay.
So we'll be talking about that in a minute. But yeah, so the room was it was a little different than any of the studios I stayed in. You know, most of the studios you just walk in, it's straight, and then
Right.
your layout and that. This had a different,
So
maybe
slightly
because
smaller.
Slightly smaller. Yes.
Okay. Slightly smaller. No real Disney theming other than just
No.
like a beach motif.
Nope.
So I know you mentioned to me that you actually thought the resort looked really nice.
Yes.
You had a short walk from your room to the beach itself.
Yes. What you had to do is if you left your room, because there's a huge hedge line. You know how like Disney's all about that line of sight. So they don't want you to see it. They want you to walk to it.
Correct. And
so
then,
because you couldn't see the outside world really, so they did a good job of that. When you were in, you were in.
And you later found out the reason why, because they want to keep there are a lot of turtle,
Yes.
I guess you would call turtle farms on the beach.
Yes.
And the hedgerows are there to keep the light at night. Oh, I guess away from.
I believe so.
Yeah, from
because
the beach.
when we checked in, Walt, I think I told you this. They asked us when we checked in if you could close your curtains. I believe it was by 9:00.
Mm-hmm.
Because they said what happens is the light actually draws the turtles further up into land.
Into the shore, yeah.
Yes, they don't want that. They will follow the light. So even in the main lobby, when you walk at night, once it got dark, they closed all the curtains except for the doorways.
Okay.
Everything was closed up.
So you had access from your room to the beach, and then when you got to the beach, you mentioned that there was access to chair and umbrella rentals, but there is a fee involved with that?
Yes. So for the two of us, it was 2 chairs and an umbrella. I believe it ran around $50. So call around $25 a day. Very nice. I don't necessarily know that it's private, but you have, I want to say, a public beach to the north, which will be right next to us.
Okay.
But nobody ever came down, and there was very few people on that beach. The beach, I gotta say, the first full day we were there, the next day, we all know from paying attention to Walt Disney World, it's been hot in Florida.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it was hot. Like where you even sat down in the shade, and I was like, oh my God. Like put me in the water. Like you were just sitting here like we're taping right now, and it was just like I was in like a 12-round fight. It was disgusting. It was that first day. It was brutal. It was brutal. So it went right into the ocean. Beaches are not huge. Sand is different than I am accustomed to. It was a lot more shelly, really broken up like a grain. But it was a little rough. And one thing I didn't like with the beach is it has a pitch. I'm not a very good swimmer, and it has a pitch going into the water. So like when the water hits, it's more of a calmer. Even though you're on the Atlantic, it's not like up here by us. The waves are not, they hit at that last second. They're like sneaky.
Okay.
So, and then when the water pulls back and you're on that angle, like it's not that comfortable.
Right. And there's more of a drop off, you mentioned.
And there's more of a drop off. So I start walking out and it's like, boom, and then you come back up again. So, and one thing I was actually shocked about, there's no lifeguards.
Oh, well, okay.
There's no lifeguards on duty. And being someone who doesn't swim all that well, being on a beach in an ocean that I have not been in, I'm like, I think I'm going to go back on land. So I was in the water for a little while. We came back up and I was like, I looked at her and I was like, you want to go to the pool? She's like, yeah. I was like, we're going to the pool.
Yeah, yeah, that's surprising that they didn't have lifeguards,
No,
especially for Disney. But
nope.
um,
None of those
obviously
beaches did.
they had lifeguards at the pool, though. I would assume, correct?
Yes, we had lifeguards at the pool.
Okay, okay. So you mentioned to me that you had a few places. Now you ate at the Wind and Waves,
Yes.
which seems to be a recurring theme for all of the restaurants at Vero Beach. It seems like whoever decided to create the name really loved the name and named everything Wind and Waves at Vero
Yes.
Beach.
Yes. There was Wind and
But
Waves Grill, which is their signature dining.
yes,
There's
and
Wind and
Market.
Waves Market, which is their quick service. And then
Mhm.
there is Wind and Waves Bar, which is their outside bar located just to the right of the market.
Okay. So overall, one of the things that we've heard from other folks over the years is that the menu and the food at Vero has its limitations.
Yes.
But it seems like you actually didn't feel that way. You kind of felt like the food was pretty good there.
Yes. While the menu is limited, it is not a big menu at all.
Okay.
And they only have a couple different entrees, appetizers. There is what is funny, they have dinner specials, right? So they have a wood-fired pizza every day, which the ingredients change, but it's a wood-fired pizza every day. There's a butcher's cut every day. There's a catch of the day, daily harvest, let's see, Oscar style fish, and a drink of the day. And that changes a little bit, but it was basically the same. Like the butcher's cut, I think every day but one was the oak grilled New York strip.
Okay.
And like you and I have said, because we talked about it before my trip, I heard so much about Vero as people beating up on their food.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Beating up on their food. Now, we have never been to that area before. I've never been to the East Coast before. I've been to the West Coast. So and it's not through Disney because you're not at Walt Disney World. You have to go through open tables. No problem at all to get a table. Every night, no problem. So the first night we dined there, very good. Very good. Had the strip, very good. I forgot what my wife had now. I should have. We're doing a show and talked about it, but she really enjoyed it. And you know her; she is very picky when it comes to food. Like nothing really.
Right.
The food doesn't. She's just like, I eat food because I'm hungry.
Did she have a
So
salad? I thought you sent me some pictures. I don't remember if you.
yes, while we're talking, I'm actually going to look them up. But I gotta say, it was very good. And I remember sitting to her saying, like, man, they beat this place up on so many different vlogs
Yeah.
about how the food is not good, and it has an open kitchen, which I like.
Yeah, I like that too.
And we said, besides the first night we sat out, they have like I would call it like a porch, and it's right next to the sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
And we sat out there, and it was all glass. Nice service again, Disney service.
Okay, that's good.
Then
That's good to know.
Then the rest of the trip between breakfast, we also had breakfast there, and we also had dinner there multiple times after that. We did not venture out. I got scared.
Okay.
It was spot on. It was good.
Yeah.
And then they remembered us. Like I felt like we were in The Shining. Because they were like, "Oh, Mr. Hayes, you're back." So I didn't even have to show my discounts no more because they're like, "Oh, Brandon, who was one of our waiters already, he's like, he said you're DVC. You don't have to worry about showing me your stuff, sir." Okay.
That's great. So it's kind of like being on a cruise where everybody remembers you.
Yes, because when you go to the pool and you walk around the resort, because it's not big, you see the same people every day, and you know when it's turnover day.
Okay.
Because all of a sudden you look around, it was like day 3, and I was like, these people look different.
Did you have any? You mentioned to me about the Green Cabin Lounge. Did you have any drinks at the lounge? How were those? If you had any,
the drinks were good. Beautiful lounge, and it is second floor in the main building in the inn. So if you come into the main lobby, there's steps that'll take you, or if you don't want to do the steps, you can do the elevator. Will take you to the second floor, and it is facing the ocean. Wow, what a view!
Oh, okay.
What a view!
That's great.
But yeah, so I think it was the second or the third night, big thunderstorm came through. Just watching the lightning was crazy over the ocean.
Oh,
it was so cool. Yeah. So they closed the deck, but you could still go out there. They just wouldn't serve you out there. So you had to come back into the bar, get a drink, and then you could walk out.
Okay.
So that was cool. But we were sitting inside. There was the funny thing, and I don't want to dwell on it. The bar is so big and the resort is packed. Nobody's there.
Wow.
You go everywhere and nobody's there.
Grandpa Disney at Vero
Is
Beach.
Grandpa Disney at Vero Beach. I'm sitting there going like, we're not big drinkers, but I was like, all right, there's not that much to do, so let's go
Right.
have a drink. It was like every night. Well, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Now
very nice.
you teased a little bit about this earlier. What was the your elevator story? Because you mentioned about the elevators.
Well, the elevator in building 12 is where our room was. Every day it had the sign on it that it broke down, up for service. So like then to a point where the elevator was actually in service, you were actually scared to take it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then to top it off, we go food shopping, come back, the room key don't work. And you can use your magic bands there. So I'm using a magic band, that don't work. So now we have all this food. So we're in bags. So we go back to the main lobby. Excellent service here too. The lady goes, everything's good, but I'm going to go back with you just in case it doesn't work. I have the master key. Didn't work. So she opens it up. She goes, I'm going to send maintenance up here. So within 10 minutes, maintenance is there. Hour and a half. They had to replace the whole thing. I watched them.
Wow.
I actually learned I could do it now. They actually take it off and they have a tablet and they plug the tablet into it. They tried reprogramming it at first. No bueno.
Wow.
No bueno. So we actually were late to our dinner. But thank God the place was not overwhelmed. It wasn't overrun. I told them what happened. No problem. We should have complained at the front desk, just being like, hey, this, and I understand it's not their fault.
Right.
But I was like, but they didn't do anything. And I said, well, they didn't do anything because maintenance didn't tell the front desk that we were stuck in a room for almost 2 hours. So they had to replace the whole thing.
Now, initially, that's actually funny because you could become a Disney locksmith in the future. That's a future employment for you. So initially, you had, I believe, was this going to be a 4 or 5 day stay at?
So the original reservation was 7. We weren't going anywhere else.
7. Okay.
Then Beth walked it back to 5. She's like, I know you're going on to go to Disney, so I moved it back. You get 2 days.
Okay.
So it was 2 days at Wilderness Lodge at the end, Copper Creek. First time we were ever staying there. We weren't at the place for like 4 or 5 hours. Or do you want to ask me? Go ahead. I don't want to.
No. So here's the thing: is we don't want to seem like we're gonna bash Vero, because Vero is obviously a place that a lot of folks enjoy. But for Ken's particular vacation that you were looking for or expecting, I think you and your wife both came away saying this isn't really what we were anticipating or looking for. Am I correct with that assumption?
You are correct. And within 4 hours, we looked at each other, we went back down, and we fibbed a little bit. We told the front desk our daughter was coming down early to surprise us at Walt Disney World. So we said, there's availability in Disney. We know there's plenty of availability right now. We would like to check out 1 day earlier. We want to go to Disney now for 3 days. So now our reservation was being moved to a 4-day stay instead of a 5-day stay. That wasn't that bad, but I found it to be complicated because even though they were at the front desk, they had to check us out, cancel the reservation, check us back into the same room for 1 less day. Then we had to make sure that they put the points in holding. Don't know. I'm not big into this stuff, because then we could call up DVC back in the room and then they could use those points immediately for a room in Walt Disney World. Okay. Because they said sometimes if they do something else with the points, they actually have to send through a paper trail and some signature needs to be done. And then you have I don't know. Don't hold me to it, DVC nerds of the world. Sorry, a bunch of nerds. I love DVC, but I don't know all the rules.
Yeah, it's complicated.
It would take you X amount of days to use them. And I said, well, I'm not coming back in 30 or 60 days.
Right.
So they did the right thing. They put them in holding. We called up. She actually booked a 1-night stay at Saratoga, and we were good to go.
Okay.
So but that was 4 hours in. We just looked at each other. We've been together a long time. I was like, we need to go to the mothership.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think you guys both came away with saying to yourselves, "Hey, We love the beach. You guys are
Mhm.
you're very familiar with the Jersey Shore
Yep.
for many years, and this isn't what we were kind of looking for or anticipating.
No.
So